Hello, my name is Matthew Vargas, and today my topic, I'll be talking about the first half of the classical period, while also talking about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, which I was actually really excited about. It's not every day you get to talk about Mozart, so, you know, and it's Mozart, so it's pretty cool. I'll also be reading off a script I've made for this presentation, so I'll also link that with the video as well. And yeah, let's get started. The classical period. Um, the classical period took place between 1750 and 1875, 1825. I'm sorry. And it came right after the Baroque period. Um, and it just it was like a breath of fresh air for music because everything was more organized, it was more clearer, and it was more easier on the ears compared to Baroque music. So, and then here's a little timeline. So this is the Baroque period, then this is the classical period, then the Romantic period, which unfortunately I won't be covering, but I think this is the best period because it kind of like structured everything, and it kind of it kind of it just fixed everything. And then the Romantic period kind of followed up with that and just sort of went with the flow. Um, and with this period, the classical period, there was also changes happening in the real world. So Europe was changing fast. The Enlightenment was in full swing, and the
Revolution.
were happening between America and France, as well as the arts were also changing. So this period just brought like a new wave of stuff. It was like a world update. New period, new update. So you know, and then the music wasn't just for the churches or royalty anymore. It was more for people to finally enjoy and connect. Hey, listen to any Mozart? Heck yeah, that was fire. So definitely, I think is the better period compared to Baroque. And as I stated before, the big difference between the Baroque music and classical music was just how textured the music was. So Baroque music had like lots of interwoven melodies, while classical music took a more simpler route and had clear melodies, smoother harmonies, and it just sounded more light, more lighter, more graceful, and just easier to follow. And then I'll play a little snippet. So this is Bach with this piece from the Baroque period, and then this is Mozart from the classical period. Main differences, as you can tell, very main differences, big differences. Some of the most important composers from the classical period were Beethoven, Joseph Haydn, Bach. He kind of transitioned into the classical period as well. But then there is the main composer, which I'll be talking about today, who is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Which, by the way, is such a cool name. I mean, not every day you get to run into someone with such a cool name like that. So, definitely, definitely something. Mozart was born in 1756 in Salzburg, Austria, and at such a young age, he was already performing and composing music, showing the world what he had to offer. And his dad, Leopold, was just like, hey, let's take you around Europe, kind of show off more of you. So they went around Europe, and Mozart was just wowing everyone, especially kings and other fellow musicians. They're just looking at this guy, looking at this kid like, dang, like this is competition. So, and then here's a little picture of young Mozart. I know, so young, so young. Um, what made Mozart's music very amazing? What made Mozart's music amazing was just how balanced it was. It was packed with feeling. It could make you laugh. It could make you cry. It could just make you in awe. And I'm not talking about each piece made you feel a certain feeling. No, one singular piece made you feel, anger, happiness, laughter. It was just all in one piece, and he was just doing that, and it was just crazy. Just think about. Also, worked. He wrote over 600 works, so symphonies, operas, chamber music, piano quartos, and choral works. So he was definitely something. I mean, not every day you get to see something like that. Um, one standout piece is the Magic Flute. It's like a fun and fairy tale like piece, which touched, which touches on deep ideas about brotherhood and wisdom. And then there's also his Requiem, which sadly wasn't finished, but it was just dramatic, emotional, and left like a big impact. And I would like to state that Mozart passed away at the age of 35. Add sound effects. I know that's so crazy. Um, I don't know. Like when I found out about this, like I found out he died at 35 while searching up stuff for the presentation. So I'm just thinking he died at 60, maybe 65. No, no, no. He died at 35, which is such a young age for such a composer like him. And just the stuff I was listing is kind of crazy to do before 35. So he's definitely like probably the goat of the classical period. Um, I think the the biggest part of the classical period was the piano. It was like a step up from the harpsichord. Harpsichord, sorry. The piano had a lot of keys, ranging from low C to middle C, all the way to high C. But yeah, it was definitely something brand new. And orchestras were also growing in size and in balance, so there was way more strings, way more winds, way more brass, and I think it kind of added more to the music, um, that was playing. So it was more expressive. There's more feeling, and I think that's really important um, for music in general. Um, Mozart was also the master of the sonata allegro form, which was a way of structuring music, and it was the go-to during the period. So whenever someone wanted to make a piece, they're like, "Hey, let's do the sonata allegro form," and that's what they based off their music. It started from that, and then from there they did their thing. So I think that's really cool. Mozart, he, as I said, he wrote a lot of pieces, a lot, and you would hear those pieces to this day. I mean, this piece, which I know you heard, I know it sounds familiar. Yeah. Um, Mozart's music, it's in like movies, TV shows, TV commercials, and even in video games. I mean, I was playing this game the other day, and I remember I interacted with the piano because that's what you do in games. You just walk around, interact with items. And when I touched the piano, it just started playing a Mozart piece, which I found kind of funny because it's someone I was presenting about. I'm like, what is a that's a coincidence? I mean, like, what are the chances of that? So it was pretty funny. But it just goes to show like he's just anywhere. I mean, he's in like the most random places you least expect. So I think that's really cool. Um, And then for me, the classical period, it just kind of made sense. I mean, it was expressive, but like not over the top. And then it was structured, but it wasn't boring. And it just had this universal feel that was easy to connect. That was easy to connect whether you were deep into the music or you just vibing with something nice into the background. So even when you get placed on hold, they usually play some type of classical music, and you kind of just there like this, just waiting until you're talking to the operator again. So it's definitely yeah, it's definitely something. And yeah, I think that's basically it. Um, as I said, the classical period added way more stuff, and kind of cleaned up the Baroque period, which I think was really nice. And yeah, this was my presentation on the first half of the classical period. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you. Have a wonderful day.